Greetings, everybody.
Greetings, Surendraji. Good to see old friends, old faces.
Yeah. Has there been a change in the YouTube link? Because I find that the YouTube link was not working. I think you guys Lalishi Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Sir, we are sending new link to everyone. That link is not working. YouTube.
That's what I was also trying to send to. I sent to a lot of friends last. Shall we? The link that I put on the Facebook, that is the one not working. Let me just.
सर पीडीएफ का जो है ना फेसबुक पर अपडेट हो चुका है.
अच्छा.
Yes, sir. Link has been updated on Facebook.
Okay, the one which was circulated earlier should work.
Yeah, it is not working.
Now I have lost my. Oh no. Everybody is asking new link. Oh no. Reja, can you join in, sir? Hello. You are muted, sir. Hello. Hello. Yes, sir.
I did not get the link for today's session.
Oh, I will. The same link that okay, hold on, then I will just send. Open it. Oh no, open it now. अरे यार बहुत
Shall we start, sir? Your microphone is muted, sir.
Unmute it here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry about this. I was hoping to get a link, and that didn't happen. Anyway, I'm glad. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible.
So shall I start?
Just, sir, we start. Let me first welcome all of you. A very warm welcome to all of you to this session on Operations Golden Flow, Market Interventions Operations. You know that it is going to be delivered by Dr. R.P. Aneja, our ex-managing director NDTV. Before I introduce our honorable speaker, I would like to say something about this great occasion. As you all know, we are celebrating this birth centenary of Dr. Verghese Kurien, the great visionary leader who transformed the lives of millions of people. All institutions that were blessed by the leadership of Dr. Kurien are also celebrating his birth centenary with great fervor and enthusiasm. Dr. Kurien was a visionary leader, an institution builder who created and nurtured a number of institutions. He was a social entrepreneur who transformed the lives of millions of small and marginal farmers. It is therefore befitting all the institutions that were created and maintained by him are coming together to celebrate his birth centenary. Today, we are starting Dr. Verghese Kurien Leadership Lecture Series, and in this series and in this journey, stalwarts from NDDB and various institutions who worked closely with Dr. Kurien shall be sharing with us their stories, anecdotes, experiences, and moments of greatness that inspired earlier generations and will continue to inspire the coming generations too. On this occasion, today we have with us Dr. R.P. Aneja, who was very closely associated with Dr. Kurien during the years when history was being carved out for the dairy sector. Dr. Ram Maneja, as he is known, was invited to join nascent National Dairy Development Board in 1968 when he was visiting India from Canada, where he was working on his PhD. Those were the days when Operations Flood program was being conceptualized. Dr. Aneja saw it as a great means to contribute to India's prosperity. He thus took up this challenge gracefully and that he calls a lifetime opportunity. He is one of the anchors of the success story of the White Revolution. From its inception to its successful execution, he led the initial planning team and later he became the managing director of both NDDB and Indian Dairy Corporation. He, along with other stalwarts, played a very important role in making the Operation Flood program successful. Dr. Aneja left NDDB in 1990 after his great contribution that helped the country become self-sufficient in milk and also in vegetable oils. He was also associated with IRMA as interim director and subsequently moved overseas. For the past 18 years, Dr. Aneja has been visiting faculty at Sri Satya Sai University at Puttaparthi, and now he is also associated with IRMA as Professor Emeritus. Sir, we are privileged to have you with us for delivering talk on Operations Golden Flow Market Interventions Operations as a part of Dr. V. Kurien Leadership Lecture Series and look forward to an engaging session. The format for this session, we shall put those questions to Dr. Aneja for after conclusion of the session. Sir, now may I now invite you to deliver this session on Operation Golden Flow Market Interventions Operation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Lalit, for those very kind words. I am more grateful. It indeed is an honor for me to be making this presentation on the leadership qualities of Dr. Kurien. These qualities resulted into India becoming the largest producer of milk in the world, resulted in the White Revolution we have, and also in making India self-sufficient in edible oils. India will always be grateful to Dr. Kurien for his contribution. I like to start by saying that although we were in milk and oil was never part of our brief, but then we realized that there were major linkages between edible oil sector and milk sector. And these linkages were A, the largest out-of-pocket expenditure on milk production by the farmers was buying oil cakes. and the price of oil cakes depended on the price of oil seeds. Also, the price of ghee and price of edible oils moved in tandem. There was always a ratio between the two. And if the price of ghee crashed, the price of milk would crash. And so we were really concerned about edible oils. But we were really not getting into it because it wasn't our brief. Until one day, I recall Bhabhai Jasbhai Patel, who was the chairman of the Amul Dairy, he raised this issue, saying that we have the edible oil prices crashed down to I think something like 64 rupees for a daily tin, which worked out about 4 rupees a liter, which was also the price of milk at that point of time. I mean, it was totally incomprehensible that the price of edible oil will come down to the price of milk. It was also very clear that these prices fluctuated dramatically. The Telia Rajas will talk about very good oilseed crop, etc., before the crop comes, and raise the expectations that it's going to be a bumper crop, with the objective of pulling down the prices of oilseeds. And the price of edible oil will crash, and they will corner this oil and then raise the prices at their free will in the lean season. Also, the lean and fresh season of edible oils seem to coincide with the lean and fresh season for milk. So that particular year, in the late 70s, it was quite clear that the oil prices had crashed, the milk prices had crashed, farmers will suffer, and that something should be done about it. And this was raised by nobody else than the chairman of the Amul Dairy, who also happened to be at that point of time the Chief Minister of Gujarat. You could see the power of farmers being translated into political power. At that point of time, some 6 cabinet ministers of Gujarat were really the chairman of the 6 unions. And so if the Chief Minister tells you that there is something that we should be looking at, one had to do that. So we looked at the edible oil sector, started looking at the edible oil sector and carried out a study. While we were carrying out the study, something else happened. One day, we had a visitor who was trying to see Dr. Kurien, and we had a common visitor room. And I asked him what was it about. He said he was one Mr. Halwai, who had come from Tungabhadra Industries, which was building his operations in vegetables. And he wanted to see Dr. Kurien because the Chief Minister asked him to see Dr. Kurien and help him in buying the Bhavnagar vegetable products unit, which was the largest groundnut oil mill in the country. So I had a discussion with Dr. Kurien, and we decided that if this is what he wants, let's listen to his story and then see whether we should get into it, because the Chief Minister already asked us to look into it, and maybe that is why he has sent this gentleman to see Dr. Kurien. So this gentleman talked about the Bhavnagar vegetable products, the largest unit. It has gone into liquidation, and they have a scheme to revive the project, and the scheme needs government's approval. So he gave us a copy of the scheme, and he said that he needed Dr. Kurien's blessings to take over the project. We looked at the scheme, and then we decided, why don't we formulate a scheme of our own, and we take over Bhavnagar vegetable products, which we did. More to learn about the sector until you start running a unit, you won't really know what the issues are. And we were already planning on a project based on milk, which was based on commodity assistance. Ajahn Patel was the finance minister, and he also pressed on the same thing. And so we worked on the project to get edible oils from USA and from SIDA, and see as to how we can kickstart the oilseed sector. So the plan was to set up cooperatives, equip them with their mills, their procurement system, their production management system, their marketing system, on the lines of So we started with this project, and we were making some headway with this. And then came in the Prime Minister's visit. The Prime Minister visited Anand, and at that point of time, India was really stressed out on the foreign exchange. We didn't have enough foreign exchange. Some of you would recall that a couple of years later, we had to send a plane load of gold to England to be able to get some foreign exchange. And the Prime Minister pointed to us that the next to petroleum products, the largest import was vegetable oils. And he says, why can't we produce this? We don't have petroleum, but we surely can produce all this edible oils. And we said, sure, we can. And then he wanted us to say as to how we could do it. So we talked about the project that we already had with the US aid assistance, and that we were already in this business, and that we could intervene in the market to ensure that the prices are stabilized. The key thing was that farmers get very low prices if they produce a bumper crop. And if they produce a bumper crop, next year they will not produce it. So, in the year when there is a crop failure, the prices will go up. Next year, farmers want to plant that, and it will be a bumper crop. And if it is a bumper crop, the prices will crash, and this cycle will repeat, and the farmers are not interested in producing it anymore. And we had a study carried out, and I must say that was a landmark study. Tushar Shah did that, and that study pointed out that if we had 5% of edible oil market, we could keep the prices of edible oil within a narrow price band of 20 rupees to 25 rupees. I'm talking about figures way back in the late 80s. And that we could operate in a 25% band. So if the price is 20 rupees, when you buy, it shouldn't be allowed to go beyond 25 rupees. To protect consumers, and prices would be stabilized. So we mentioned to the Prime Minister that we have a plan. We need to buy about 5% of edible oils, and we can then ensure that the farmers will get good prices. And if we get regulatory prices, that we will produce everything. We also pointed out to the Prime Minister that the edible oil in the global market is really being dumped. There are surpluses in North America and in Europe. And I recall at that point of time, Canadian farmers were being paid something like $600 a ton for canola seeds. And canola oil was being traded at $600 a ton. It should really be 2.5 times the price of the seeds. But that's not what was happening. So the oil exporters like Malaysia, Indonesia, we provided the cheapest oil in the world, the palm oil, they were really rice takers. And that Indian farmers have to compete with these people. And that's not possible. Why don't we give them the prices that the farmers get in Europe and in US? So he listened to us and he said, how much time it will take for you to do it? And he said, it will take us about 5 years. So his first question was, you're 25 years in doing it in milk, why do you think you can do it in 5 years? He said, A, there is urgency. B, 20 out of 25 years in milk, we were really fighting with the government. We couldn't get the policies straightened out. So if you give us the policies that we need, and if you give us access to credit to buy the edible oil that we need for the market intervention operation, we should be able to do this in 5 years' time. And his next question was, what are the guarantees? And I remember Dr. Kurien saying, and that's what he did us, saying our heads. And I think that convinced them that these are serious people and that the government should look into it. The government had also launched a technology mission on oilseeds, like technology mission on milk. So it was quite clear that the government will approve it and will proceed with it. Now at that point of time, there was a minimum support price which NAFED was supposed to be the operating agency on oilseeds. And we got a call from Mehsana saying that the price of Raida, which is mustard, has come down to 14 rupees a kilo. The minimum support price is 16 rupees a kilo, and nobody is picking it up. So Motibai Chaudhary, who was the chairman of the Mehsana Dairy, was concerned, and he then asked Ramji Bhai Patel, who was the chairman of the oilseed cooperative, to see the dairy board, and we had discussions on it. And he said, Sahib, if you don't pick up something right away, we are in trouble. Forget about your market intervention. And so our reply was that we still have not received government's permission. We don't have government sanction. We don't have the line of credit that we need. So how can we buy it today? He said, if you don't buy it today, farmers will not produce it next year. So it was as simple as this. And the dairy board was always an organization which listened to the farmers. So we then asked, we were already running the Bhavnagar vegetable products unit, and we had a very competent manager there, Rao. So we asked Rao as to what do you think can be done? He said he thought over and he presented a very novel way of buying oilseeds. He said, why don't we ask Mehsana that we will buy your oil in the oilseed. You keep the oilseed with you. We don't have at this moment any storage capacities. We don't have the wherewithal of starting the market intervention operation. But if you pledge your oilseed to us, we will pay you for the oil in it. And that's what they did. And we picked up, they wanted 10,000 tons to be picked up at that point of time, 10,000 tons of oil equivalent. So we picked up that oil. And we thought the prices will go up. And so we then asked Rao as to why does he not start buying mustard oil in the Rajkot market, because that was the largest oilseed market in Gujarat. So he picked up some 200 tons of oil from the Rajkot market. That was the total arrival of the market. Those days, there was no future marketing permitted in edible oils, but the deliveries were in 10 days' time. So you really had 10 days play. So he picked up 200 tons of oil to be delivered 10 days later, and the market didn't move even by a cent. And we were kind of intrigued. The total offerings were 200 tons. We picked up everything and the price doesn't move up. And so he did the same thing the next day and nothing happened. And he doubled the quantity to be picked up and nothing happened. And we kept on doing it for days and nothing would happen. And we were now concerned that, any day the order will come and we will have to take the price to 20 rupees. And if it is not moving, we'll probably be picking up this oil and the prices may never move. So we were really concerned. And I remember asking Mr. Sood, who was with the oilseed cooperatives for a while. He was a very knowledgeable person. I think he was with the VMA at that point of time. I asked Sood, what is happening? And he said, we don't know, but why don't you pick up some oil in Bombay? Now, it made no sense at all as to why should we pick up oil in a consumption center rather than a production center. But then we had great infrastructure, we had a great team in handling commodities, and this team in Bombay was pretty good. They promptly picked up 200 tons of mustard oil in Bombay market, and the price moved up by 50 paisa a kilo. It was unbelievable. And the next day they picked up another 200 tons and they moved up by another 50 paisa. And you could see as to how you could intervene in the market. And as soon as the prices moved up in Bombay, the prices moved up in Rajkot. So Rajkot was really not, they were not the price makers. The price makers were out there in Bombay. And then comes the government order sanctioning us the 3,000 crore rupees. Government provided the guarantee, and the conditions were simple. That we'll give you 30,000 crores of line of credit. The government will guarantee it. And since you will buy at 20 rupees and sell at 25 rupees, we will make profit. And up to 30 crores of profit will be kept by the dairy board for infrastructure development, and the remaining money will go to the government. That was the way the MIO was structured. So we started picking up this oil, and the first thing we came across was that as soon as the order was issued, the Strait Trading Corporation moved into the market and hired every storage tank in the country. Now, we don't have storage capacities. We would have to hire too. But when our people will go out in Bombay to hire these tanks, they were told, everything was taken over by STC yesterday. That was, you could see as to how the government program will be sabotaged by government agencies. So we went and complained to the cabinet secretary, who was the chairman of the steering committee for this operation. Now, please look at the support the government had. The steering committee for this operation consisted of the cabinet secretary, Dr. Kurien, secretary civil supplies, secretary commerce, anybody who was involved in edible oils was a part of this decision making. So we went and complained to Mr. Sheshan that this is what STC has done. He promptly called a meeting of the steering committee and asked STC as to what's happening. And the STC coolly said, "Sir, we will look into it." As if they don't know what is happening. So Mr. Sheshan quietly said, "Look, I am not a doctor. I am a surgeon. I chop, chop, chop. If this oil storage is not released to the dairy board promptly, there will be heads rolling. And surely we got all the capacity that we needed, and we were back in operation." So we picked up quite a bit of oil, and at this point of time, I can tell you, we picked up something like 60,000 tons of oil. The prices came to 20 rupees very rapidly, and the farmers were happy that they got good prices. There was an agency which was intervening into it, and actually the oil seeds were being bought by their own cooperative. They trusted their cooperatives like in milk. So it seemed to be going in the right direction, but we were all very new to this. But the principles were the same. The principles were there is a seasonal variation, and if you pick up the stock in the flush season and hold it on to for the lean season, you will get good prices. That's what was happening in milk. We picked up all the milk in flush season when the prices will go down. We didn't allow the prices to go down, and conserved it as a commodity and sold it in the lean season. And so a lot of market analysis was needed, and we were very fortunate to have IRMA with us. And I remember 3 IRMA professors, Professor Rajgopalan, Professor Fansalkar, the economist, and I think there was this professor who was in charge of computers, because there was so much of data to be analyzed, Gulati. And so they were totally committed. So we had a research group, and we were very lucky to have 6 IRMAs straight from the college. And they joined this group, and they did all the donkey work on day-to-day market analysis, presenting, analyzing all that has happened in the day, looking at all the newspaper reports, the market reports, and they would present a paper. They would work overnight and present a paper for the next day's plan of action. And then these professors will come in, and we had a great group on commodity management. I remember Garrett, I remember Rusty, and we will sit down and take decisions as to how much should we buying, in what market, at what price. And it went on pretty smoothly. And nobody would know what we are doing until one day Sood tells me from Bombay, "Hey, the market knows that you guys meet at 11 o'clock and you take a decision by 12 o'clock, and then you get into the operation. And that this is not a good thing." And he quoted that STC buys oil in Singapore or Malaysia or Indonesia, and they float their tenders on a particular day at a particular time, and everybody gangs up, and the prices go up that day, and STC winds up paying high prices. And so we quickly had to change our strategy. So everything was proceeding pretty smoothly, but there was one problem. One of the large consumers of the edible oil was the vanaspati sector. And it was STC which would supply oil to them, and they were supplying it at low prices, and that was really affecting the market. And we would tell the government that, that this is not good, and we should not be giving it to vanaspati industry at low prices. And then one day we heard that STC bought so much oil, and and they bribed the Prime Minister 30 crore rupees through Amitabh Bachchan, and that this is what's going on in STC. So when we met the Cabinet Secretary the next time, and we told him exactly what happened. So he told Dr. Kurien that we are meeting the Prime Minister. Why don't you mention this to the Prime Minister when we meet with him? So when he met with the Prime Minister said, Kurien ji, आप थोड़ा ठहरिए, सुखराम जी अभी इधर आने वाले हैं, the Civil Supplies Minister. And why don't you repeat this story in his presence? That was very refreshing. So Sukhramji comes and Dr. Kurien repeats the story, and then the Prime Minister says, Sukhramji, अब आप ये रहने दीजिए, ये तेल भी अब NDDB वाले handle करेंगे. And the very next day, Sukhramji organized a meeting. He asked me to come over, and I didn't realize it was a press conference where he is presenting that the government has decided that STC will not be handling this oil for the Vanaspati industry, but NDDB will do it so as to be in tune with the market intervention operation. Then he asked at the meeting at what prices will you be selling this oil to the Vanaspati industry. I said, sir, that the NDDB will decide. He wanted me to tell them the figure. I said, no, it is the dairy board which will decide. I cannot decide this. And he was pretty disappointed. So we also were able to then influence the total market in a much bigger manner. We then realized that we have so much oil, and most of the demand is in Calcutta. It's the Bengalis which consume mustard oil. And all this oil has been produced in the north. Gujarat produced a lot of raida, and this oil would need to be moved to Calcutta. So we floated tenders, and we were surprised that the oil movement from Kandla to Calcutta would cost us something like 2 rupees a kilo. And we realized that the transportation cost of oil from Malaysia to Kandla was 25 paisa a kilo. That if we were to send 50,000 tons of oil to Kandla, all the roads will be blocked, and we'll be spending so much more money. So we then talked to the Director General of Shipping, and we were able to then charter out ships at a very competitive price. 1/4 of what it would have cost us to ship oil by road. And we actually at that point of time even talked about NDU buying a ship. And that ship would pick up oil from Madras, Chennai, groundnut oil for consumption in Gujarat. So we were able to transform the whole sector. We started building up very large tank farms all over the country. And the operation was doing pretty well. And the trade then started speculating because we had floated a tender for transporting 50,000 tons of oil. So they suspected that we have at least 50,000 tons of oil. So when we started releasing oil as the lean season came in, we realized that we may not have enough oil to be able to meet the market demand and keep the prices within the 25 rupees band. And so we were very conservative in selling this oil, and the prices quickly moved to 25 rupees a kilo, and we knew that this will be breached. So we started selling oil in Bombay by advertising that this oil is available at 25 rupees a kilo. And then one day, this cabinet secretary calls to say that the price has been breached. The Economic Times today says 26 rupees a kilo. So what is going on? So I suggested that he ask the Forward Market Commission, who is supposed to be preventing this kind of speculation. And so a meeting was organized with the Forward Market Commission. And we then asked the Bombay Oil Exchange as to what is going on. The dairy board said that we are advertising every day and we are releasing as much oil as people want. We are actually meeting the entire demand, and nobody has been refused. And the Bombay Oil Exchange confirmed this. And then we asked the Bombay Oil Exchange as to why are you reporting 26 rupees a kilo when no oil has been traded? They confirmed no oil had been traded at 25 rupees a kilo. So we then said that this is speculation. They said, no, sir, we have to reflect the market sentiment. The price of groundnut oil is moving up, is teji in the market, and we have to reflect the market sentiment. So we have to remind them that it is not you that the oil exchange which has to reflect the market sentiment. It is the price that reflects the market sentiment, and that what they were doing was indulging into speculation. So we ordered the arrest of the entire board of the Bombay Oil Exchange, and Mr. Session called and asked as to what's going on. So we said, we have just ordered the arrest of the Bombay Oil, the board of the Bombay Oil Exchange, and that they are speculating. And so he said that, thoda slow jao bhai. And but we assured him that the government will ensure that there will be no speculation in this. So he then asked me to come and see him in Delhi, which I did that night before we move on to the next day. And he said that why are these prices going up in groundnut oil? I said, that's not our brief. But the groundnut oil prices are going up because the government of Gujarat has informally banned the movement of oil. He said, what do you mean informally banned the movement of oil? And I said, the trucks are now required to register at the state crossings. And they have just lined up. So he said, who's done that? We said, Gujarat, government of Gujarat. He said, why don't you see the Chief Minister of Gujarat next day morning and tell him that, the Prime Minister is not happy with this, which I did. And they promptly released the tankers. But he also asked me at that point of time, he said, do you have security? I said, what security do I need? I don't need any security. No, you need Z category. I said, Sahib, I'm a happy man. Don't get me involved in this. So leave me alone. So we were able to overcome with the limited oil that we have, the lean season. But then the traders were not going to let us go. So they started asking questions in the parliament. And our minister replied in the parliament that it's not in the public interest to announce as to how much oil have we bought. All that they wanted to know was this quantity. And I must say full credit to the entire team. I mean, we're operating all over. The core group in the Irmans that we had ensured that nothing ever leaked out. And so nobody knew what the amount of oil is, except the tender that we had floated for moving 50,000 tons of oil, which actually gave the impression that we would probably have 50,000 tons of oil. We didn't. So they then filed a case in the consumer court in Ahmedabad, state consumer court, saying that, we have breached the price. It is 25 rupees a kilo. Already the prices have moved up, and that we should explain what's going on. So the judge asked us as to what really is going on, and we told the judge that this is not the consumer price we are talking about. We are talking about the wholesale price, and the wholesale price is still within the 25 rupees band on mustard oil, and that we cannot tell the trade as to how much oil are we sitting on. He said, no, this is the code. You can't tell us what the minister has said in the parliament. So he insisted that we gave him the figure, and we said, we can talk to you in the chamber. We can't disclose this in public. So we had a meeting in the chamber, and we told him we are sitting on 26,000 tons of oil. If this figure leaks out, the prices will go through the roof. He then realized the seriousness of the situation, but he said, how do we trust you? He said, we'll give you an affidavit, a signed affidavit, which you can open only after the new crop comes. So the judiciary cooperated, and we were able to ensure that the prices were kept within the band. The long and short of it is that the government saw that the price band was maintained. The producers saw that they are getting remunerative prices, and that they will continue to produce, get good prices. And within 3 years, they produced all the edible oils that we needed. Within 3 years' time, India's imports were down to trickles, and we became self-sufficient in edible oils. So I I must say that this gave us tremendous confidence. It gave NDDB a lot of goodwill, and we earned a lot of goodwill from the farmers, and that this was an operation which really, really helped the farmers. And I was blessed to have played a role in this. It was a blessing to work with Dr. Kurien and to be able to have some assistance to the farmers. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this very engrossed, engaging talk on this subject. May I know, is there any questions from the audience? Anyone wants to ask some questions?
I have no question, but a comment can I make?
Please, sir.
Thank you, sir. It is a wonderful reflection of the old memories. The long time, about 2.5 decades have passed, but the way you explained it was coming as a flashback, the way the battle was fought, the commitment that was shown by the young Irmans, which it was the first job of theirs. They straight came from the campus and started working. I remember the briefing that tomorrow your job starts and you will not get leave. And that was the kind of commitment these young boys and girls, they demonstrated. And sir, your leadership, I remembered the way you inspired the team, and every day at 12 o'clock you take historic decisions, and that was excellent managerial leadership quality. And we used to decide prices, decide quantity, decide the market hotspots where this operation will be conducted, and this used to be done. And it was so precision, and those days those IT systems were not existing, but still then everything was happening like a clock. So it was wonderful. Sometimes I reflect and I feel it is inconceivable that such an operation can happen in our country. Thank you, sir, for giving a flashback. Grateful, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments to make? Sir, one of my young colleagues, he has joined 1 year back. He has got something to ask from you, because he is very new to this sector, and he wants to know that what is your expectations for today's young professionals who have chosen to work for organizations engaged in dairy and allied agriculture activities. His name is Rakesh, and he wants to know from your side, your perspective on this profession.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Rakesh, for asking this question. It's a very valid thing. When I got back to India and had this opportunity to work with the Dairy Board, what motivated us was really working for the poor in India. We actually, I realized when I came out to Canada as a student, I realized that nobody cared for us, that these people can't feed their own population. What kind of people are we? And there was this guilt on us that we let the country down, and we're trying to make up for it. And the mental rewards were great, that we are doing something for the country, we are giving it back to the country. At that point of time, I did not realize that the country was poor not because of the Indian farmers. It was poor because the terms of trade had gone against agriculture. That the agriculture prices remain more or less static for the last 100 years. In fact, if you look at data today on wheat prices and corn prices, 100 years data out of the Chicago Board of Trade, you will find the prices remain around $200 a ton for 100 years. And look at a car when it was first sold 100 years ago by Ford. It was $1,000 a ton. Today it's $30,000 a car. So the prices of the industrial prices have moved 30 times, and agriculture prices are where they are. And any country which remained dependent on agriculture automatically became poor. And so the poverty was thrust on us because we did not diversify. We did not move on to crops that were higher value. We just got stuck to feeding ourselves. I think the famine, the Bengal famine, really was in the back of minds of everybody in the Planning Commission, which was such a shame. I think answering the question directly, when in the late 80s, 90s, India was really known for the work that we had done in the field of milk and then oilseeds, that we were helping the poor. We were the best known people in the country until the IT fellows really took all the credit for the great work that they have done. And today India is known for IT. And I find that the spark of working for the poor missing. The mental rewards, we all have to have a purpose in life. And the purpose is to give it back to the society. And how can we continue to enjoy a higher standard of living when we see that our farmers are hungry? The poverty really has done more damage to the rich people in India because they refuse to see how poor are our poor. That's abnormal. We don't have any feelings for them. So all that I can say is, well, very fortunate that you have a job. You're very fortunate you are working in the dairy board and you have a guaranteed salary. But look deep within and see, am I contributing? Am I helping? Or have I isolated myself and I'm happy with what I have and not worry about what others have? I hope that answers this question.
Yes, sir. It's very much answers our questions.
Can I have one question, please?
Yes, please.
Can I raise one question? Sir,
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Amar Vaid. I worked with Dairy Board 83 to 90. Thereafter at Mehsana and Orissa Oil Unions as Managing Director. And you were, sir, responsible for my recruitment. And that stint was the most satisfying stint in my life and my career. So my question is, whatever we had done, whatever Dairy Board achieved there, we achieved very, very significant in building up the sector, be that dairy or be that oilseeds. But the work remains still incomplete. Yesterday itself, there's an announcement that Government of India is coming up with National Technology Mission for palm oil with the investment of 11,000 crores in Northeast as well as in the Telangana area. Now, with the experience and whatever work was done, foundation was built, I don't think that is existing today. The operation will go back again to the government departments. The way public distribution system has been working, again, one of the department will pick it up and run. The country will definitely invest once again, but that will be a loss. Now, the institution that was built under your leadership, Dr. Kurien's leadership, how can we build on that once again? How can we build it on that once again? To be very frank, I am also past my prime life having contributed to this, but I still feel a passion there that we can contribute. How do we do it, sir?
Well, it's a very valid question. I have seen these reports, and there are pluses and minuses. Palm oil is probably the best converter of solar energy into food, but it's also very water intensive. And most of our oil seeds are produced in drought-prone areas, in arid, semi-arid conditions, rain-fed, etc., etc., and that is where the poor are. So while the government may have, its own reasons to do what it's doing, it is those who are working for the poor farmers, particularly in these areas. You please look at pulses, oilseeds. They don't use much water, and that is why their yields are low. And that is why the farmers don't get as much, and that is how we have become dependent. Here I am in Canada exporting pulses to India, exporting oil to India, and paying good prices to our farmers here. So what is preventing us having these farmers operate these whole things collectively? That is the whole cooperative movement. I think the government has also set up a ministry to hopefully to strengthen the cooperative movement. So it is for the oilseed cooperatives like yours and Mehsana and Banaskantha and these oilseed cooperatives to go and get the right policies like the milk cooperatives were able to get. So I think the answer lies in strengthening our farmers, particularly the rich farmers. Please don't forget, we are not talking about merely producing edible oils. We are talking about alleviating rural poverty. So I think if one was to look at alleviating rural poverty, the path would be slightly different.
That's true, sir. That's true. I hope that spirit is picked up while implementing this new project. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Any comments you want to make?
I want to make a comment. I think I want to make a comment more as a clarification. This operation Golden Floor largely refers to Dhara. And Dhara was never a part of the MIO. MIO was to ensure that the farmer prices are maintained. And so it was an intervention, open market intervention in the wholesale market, in a free market intervention. And I like to quote here, when Raja Todramal was asked as to why do we have poverty in India. Please don't forget, we are discussing a period when India was called the Sone ki Chidiya. And India was the world's largest agricultural producer. We also produced high-value spices, and that's how we became rich. But then the emperor asked as to how come we still have poverty? And Todramal's reply was that we have droughts regularly. Every second, third, fourth year is a drought. Whenever there is a drought, the farmers don't get enough income. They have to buy their food. They have to depend on money lenders, and they sell their gold to be able to sustain themselves. And the gold prices crash because everybody is selling. And whenever there are good monsoons and you have good rains and you have good crops, the crop prices come down, the grain prices come down, and but even then farmers have plenty to be able to go back and buy their gold. And the gold prices move up. So the farmers get beaten twice in buying and selling of grains and in buying and selling of gold. And at that point of time, you couldn't think of anything major, but he suggested state intervention in buying and selling gold. And that the state will buy gold will exclusively buy gold and sell gold, and the price band will be 25%. And the state made some money, and the farmers did not get, screwed down, at least in one part of the deal, and that helped India once again become rich. So we are back to square one here. We in agriculture, that is our curse. That whether it is onions, whether it is tomatoes, when farmers produce too much, there are no buyers, and there are tomatoes lying on the roadside. So what we need is a free market intervention in all these commodities, and I think that is what is needed in edible oils once again. And the dairy board got a bad name because we put all the losses on Dhara onto the MIU, and the government said that was not a part of our deal, and the government refused to pay that, and we lost face. We lost face with the government, and so that way Dhara really didn't help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In this context, one of my other young colleague, she has asked another very valid question. She has got some query. She is writing that, being the former MD of NDDB, if you are continuing with the organization today, what will be the innovations you would wish to come in, and also which will be the other sectors that you think NDDB can venture into? Her name is Akanksha Kumar.
Well, very, very good question. I want to congratulate on this question. You see, the dairy board was primarily set up to ensure that we have self-sufficiency. When I got back to India from Canada, to buy butter or to buy milk, you needed a card. Even in Anand, if you wanted to buy 100 grams of butter, you'll have to go to Mr. Dalaya and get a chit from him. I had a student working in the Polson dairy, so instead of bothering Mr. Dalaya, I went and asked him to give me some butter. The baby food was not available. So from scarcity, we have a flood of milk. Now we have done our job in milk. In fact, when I left the dairy board, I realized our job is done. And it is the other sectors. So edible oil is another sector totally willing, totally ready for revamping. And I think the most important one is fruits and vegetables. 6% of India's land and 6% of India's water is used in fruits and vegetables. And today it accounts for almost 1/3 of India's agricultural GDP. Like milk accounts for almost 1/3 of India's GDP. So you think about it, that 6% of India's land is producing 1/3 of our agricultural GDP, which is fruits and vegetables, and farmers continue to get only 20% of what the consumers pay, and 40% of the produce is lost. You please look at the tremendous opportunities in fruits and vegetables to enrich the farmers. And I think there you need major interventions, like converting tomatoes into tomato paste, converting into commodity, and don't let farmers throw away their tomatoes. Use technology to preserve and sell it all over. We should really become the fruit and vegetable producers of the whole world. And that's where, our opportunities lie. These are high-value products. They will create such tremendous jobs. I was very disappointed with the horticulture mission. I went and saw some places. You go and give 10 varieties of fruits and vegetables to be produced in every village. I'm glad people are now talking about one district, one product. If you go and see what Kenyans do, Kenyans send a plane load of Gujarati fruits and vegetables to London every day. And they have organized it so well. So I think there is so much to be learned in this sector, and the opportunity for the farmers, we should really be all over looking at all over again from the farmer's perspective. They have smaller pieces of land. They have limited water. How much more can they produce? Not in terms of volumes, in terms of rupees. And you will find fruits and vegetables right at the top. I was very impressed. I used to live in a village called Navli, and the chairman of the Navli Milk Producers Union organized what he called a cabbage cooperative. He organized seeds. He organized marketing of cabbage directly in the Bombay market. Just that there was a Navli village cabbage cooperative. I think it's time to look at farmers de novo, not just stick to one commodity. Look at the opportunities farmers have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. These are the opportunity. We must grab this opportunity, and we must diversify ourselves in this area. What we expect, and as you suggested also, any more comments to make or any questions to ask? Anyone interested to ask any question? Thank you very much, sir. We don't have any more queries or any questions or any comments to make. I thank you very much.
All that remains for me is to thank you all very much. And it's Lord's grace that we had this opportunity to work together, to come together, work as a team, and I am most grateful. And thank you for asking me to make this presentation.
So it is also for us a very lifetime opportunity to talk to you directly and get to know your viewpoint, your blessings and your guidance also. Thank you very much, sir. And I also thank you all the participants, all the audience, those who have connected through this Google Meets and YouTubes with us. Thank you very much, sir. We end the session here.
Thanks.
Thank you.